here's Brody Brazil.
This is a video about the A's potential relocation eventually to Las Vegas. It's obviously something that the team and Major League Baseball have been working on for quite some time now, but it's going to cover recent developments on two fronts. Number one, projections about Las Vegas financially as a sustainable and viable Major League Baseball market. And then eventually we'll get to the actual planning of the stadium and how already there are some potential red flags about the site. Let's begin with projections here, and this comes from Las Vegas locally. They do a great job on social media covering all things Las Vegas. And how about this? The Las Vegas Strip saw a 40.4% drop in net income to $820 million in 2024. Obviously, we now know that the calendar year has just ended, despite total revenue rising 6.8% to $21.9 billion and gaming revenue increasing 4.9% to $5.7 billion, according to a new report from the Nevada Gaming Control Board. But again, the biggest takeaway comes in the first couple words there. The Strip saw a 40.4% drop in net income, and that's despite the total revenue going up and gaming going up. It's just a matter of what you're making versus what you're spending, and what you're spending to get what you're making is just not working out to a large degree. If you told me that was 4%, no big deal. 14%, maybe something more to think about, but a 40.4% drop in net income in 2024, that is something to be considered the long-term, even the short-term viability of Las Vegas as a market, as an economy. It's grown so fast. The prices of things have shot way up in terms of visiting Las Vegas. It's not what it used to be. And what might it be like in a couple years? In fact, what was it like on this recent weekend, Super Bowl weekend? Now, this was a day or two before. I want to say maybe this was from Thursday or Friday. Vital Vegas, another great social media account that does a good job in just kind of going over everything Las Vegas and pointing out the cost of hotel rooms. You could get a room at Caesars Palace for Super Bowl weekend, $33 a night. I mean, that just tells you that availability and opportunity are out there if the option is $33 a night at Caesars Palace or $18 at Flamingo, Las Vegas. I mean, there's some real concern here. Las Vegas is a place that operates on tourism and people coming into town and spending money. But if you price yourself out of a lot of people's budget, then they're just not going to come as frequently. And if you don't have all the visitors, you don't have the economy moving like it's supposed to. And I don't know how this is going to go over the next 5 years, but if we're just looking at 2024 and the overall Strip as an ecosystem, things did not go well financially. So that's one side of it, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a Major League Baseball team that's planning to move to Las Vegas, but how about an NBA team that might want to expand there, or anything else? If you're any kind of business, I know we're relating this to the potential A's move there eventually, but this has everything to do with anything in Las Vegas and specifically on the Strip, which is where this baseball stadium would be. Speaking of the planning part of this, here's a local news report that I also wanted to share.
Some locals can't wait to hear the words "play ball." Others still have questions about parking and the look of the future A's stadium.
By the way, this is from ABC 13, the television station in Las Vegas.
On the Las Vegas Strip. Well, sports reporter Nick Walters shows us the latest plans on Las Vegas's soon-to-be Major League Ballpark.
We have our newest look of the A's ballpark coming here at the site of the Tropicana.
By the way, the reason we have all this is because the A's filed a land use permit, so this wasn't something they released. This is something as part of what they filed that went public because they had to submit it.
The team releasing new documents of the soon-to-be Sydney Opera House of baseball.
I mean, that would infer that there's good performances there, right? Like there would be at the Sydney Opera House. I know that's what it looks like. And quite honestly, isn't it really a rip off of the Sydney Opera House? I mean, that is what Las Vegas is. You have the Eiffel Tower up the Strip. You've got the Statue of Liberty, kitty corner to where this stadium would be. So maybe we ought to realize it is a replication. Let's not just dance around it. It is a replication of the Sydney Opera House.
These visuals making sports fans even more excited to see bat meet ball in 2028 on the Strip.
Or 2029.
That stadium looks good. It looks sleek. Just the design of it.
So we're on the street here interviewing James from South Carolina, which is fine, but this has nothing to do with Las Vegas insight or background. But maybe, let's think about this, maybe James is somebody who would be coming to town and might be taking in a baseball game. So this insight, valuable to the piece, no doubt.
And the architecture, it looks pretty, and I think it'll bring a lot of money to the town and to the state.
I mean, you don't know that, right? How is the financial structure set up here, James? No offense to James, he's visiting Vegas. He got asked to do a TV interview. He's got no clue about any of this stuff, the financials of it. He assumes that, but he doesn't know how this is set up or the fact that it's promising sellouts for 30 straight years.
What's your reaction?
I think that it's going to be really cool to have the MLB in such like a popular place like Vegas.
I mean, Chandler and Oliver are from Utah. I don't know, Chandler's 13, 14, 12 maybe. Oliver, I don't know if Oliver gets to speak here. The point is, I mean, if we're going to spend time interviewing people and covering this story, and this is no disrespect to anybody who is working at ABC 13, it's just, I don't know what this provides a kid's perspective on a baseball stadium in Las Vegas. I've got a long list of other people that could and should be interviewed here.
There's so many people here, and it's just going to have a big market for baseball fans here.
It looks really cool, really futuristic.
I'm from Boston. We have a lot of history in our ballpark. Not a lot of history in that ballpark right there. I can tell you that much.
Tim from Boston trying to say it without saying it. It ain't no Fenway Park. Yeah, and Tim is right. And Tim comes from more of a traditional, typical sporting background and a place that supports their baseball team and their basketball team and their football team and their hockey team. And it's just it's a known commodity in Boston. That's what they do. And that's why Tim's got some reservations of what is this?
It does kind of look like either a spaceship or a giant egg that they're going to be putting here on the strip.
Sounds like he was edited too. Maybe he had some more uncomplimentary things to say.
Vegas locals are still divided on an MLB ballpark coming to the strip.
They're still divided? I mean, you would have thought that with the state legislative session and how fast this was passed, divided? That doesn't sound like a good thing at this point if groundbreaking is really going to happen within the next 60 to 120 days.
One reason why is parking. This area is already so congested, and when ball games coincide with events at nearby casinos, it will be chaos.
I mean, this is something that yours truly brought up a year and a half ago. And now it's covered on the news as if we're just uncovering this. And maybe they're just realizing that that's fine. But why is this all of a sudden a thing that is being realized and a point of controversy and contention? And I mean, we're just realizing this now?
The new ballpark on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Tropicana Avenue will just be a stone's throw away from T-Mobile Arena, the home of the Golden Knights and the UFC. And right across the highway from Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Raiders and major events. Not to mention UNLV's Thomas & Mack Center and the Aces Michelob Ultra Arena being just blocks away, raising concerns that the A's are trying to answer.
Now, I got to say, those are all the venues within a close vicinity. To the point, though, it may not ever happen where they all have events simultaneously or even on the same day. But I think what's being pointed out here is very accurate. I mean, this could be with everything else going on, like typical Vegas plus all these sporting events, which draw in a lot of people. Yeah, there could be some very specific days with some very specific problems.
So here's what we found out about the parking. According to team documents, a new stadium parking garage will provide 2,470 on-site parking spaces. 100 of those will be dedicated to the team's office staff.
So, by the way, what I mentioned before, the planning and the logistics part, it wasn't even actually the traffic. It's this part of it right here, which everybody's in control of. So take note of that. 2,470 total parking spaces at the new ballpark site and 100 for office staff. That does not seem like enough. I mean, 400 people plus work for the team on a typical basis. So, all right, we know how many spaces they're planning on here.
But Clark County Code requires a 1 parking space per every 4 seats rule, which means this 30,000 seat stadium should provide 7,650 total parking spots, 150 for office workers. That's over 5,000 spaces less than the county requires.
I mean, already cutting corners like that, maybe it's because of the 9-acre deal or the fact that the footprint is limited. You don't want to waste a ton of space on parking, but for a huge stadium like this, It's required and you might need it. How did they get around this, by the way, with Allegiant Stadium? It's also in Clark County.
But the A's justify this shortcoming, saying many attendees will use taxis, shuttles, the monorail, or walk to games from their hotels.
I mean, so it's just like, yeah, we know that we're cutting it short, but we've got reasons for that and we'll be fine.
But people I talked with tell me they still worry about traffic on game days.
Yeah, just a headache. Just thinking about where to park and how early to get here.
But I mean, Jeff's from Utah. No locals in this piece. Nobody with background or insight. I mean, I get it. That's who you found on the strip. But how would Jeff know about parking and driving in from Summerlin where he lives? He lives in Utah.
And yeah, that's probably something they're not thinking about now, but will be an issue, I'm sure.
I don't think any locals are actually going to be going to the game. I think it's all going to be tourists.
Yeah, traffic's crazy, but you're walking. This is a walking town.
Okay, it is a walking town, but probably not in August at 4 p.m. when it's 114 degrees outside. And is it Tim from Boston? Was that his name? I mean, he says it's all going to be tourists. Well, it can't be. I mean, there's just the team projected 33% tourists for all the games, which everybody thought was a way too big number. Tim's saying 100%. He thinks nobody from Las Vegas is going to go. That does not seem sustainable, especially what we talked about before in this market where tourism fluctuates a little bit.
With progress, there comes problems.
After Las Vegas Stadium Authority put pen to paper to allow construction, the A's are on schedule to break ground at some point this spring. From the Strip, I'm Nick Walters, Channel 13 Sports.
And Nick, by the way, if you ever see this clip of me here on YouTube going over your report, this is nothing personal. I'm sure you do a great job. And this is just me breaking down the situation and the things that we know from all of this. I just want to say that as we look at the next 60 to 120 days, as I said before, I mean, this is going to be very critical whether this construction project and groundbreaking starts or not. I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth about what might happen and when it might happen. But if things aren't moving and shovels aren't in the ground anywhere between April and June of 2025, then something or multiple things are not right in Las Vegas or somewhere else, or with Bally's and the rest of the site, or with the A's and their funding, or maybe they get cold feet on the entire situation. It's one thing to get all the approvals and to put everything in place. But the true test is, do you fund this? Do you move it forward? Do you take action on it? Because once they start building this, I guarantee it's not going to stop, or somebody's going to see it through. But until it actually happens, I think the questions are going to remain. That's the end of this video. Thumbs up down below. Greatly appreciate that. Also, don't forget to subscribe so I can definitely see you back here next time.